Welcome to Futurecast. My name is Ian Utilli, and we're talking about the future of webcasting today, and we're going to discuss how webcasting is impacting business and businesses right now. And in order to start that conversation, feel free to put some comments in the window. Some of the guys are fielding comments, and they may have comments themselves, so I'm going to throw the Google Frisbee around and take some questions. Ted, here it comes.
Talk about webcasting and the sharing economy right now.
Webcasting and the sharing economy today is not what I'd like to see it, but I would say that people are in the back of Ubers, they're in the back of Lyfts, they're inside Airbnbs, they are getting Uber Eats, and they are live streaming it. And so webcasting and live sharing for the people that are hiring the sharing economy, that are paying for Airbnb access, paying for Uber access, paying for Lyft access, paying for Uber Eats. Those people are also promoting those sharing economy businesses by live streaming the experience of like what's happening or what just happened. So webcasting is impacting the sharing economy businesses by the clients telling the story of what's happening. Ludwig, are you ready? Here it comes.
How is webcasting impacting the startup community?
Okay, how is webcasting impacting the startup community? Well, you don't have to pay for advertising and branding and storytelling and sales anymore. So all you have to do is, hire a marketing crew, and maybe you're a startup, so maybe you tell a marketing company, hey, I'll give you $50,000 in equity if you set up a table like this in a room like this with cameras like this, and if you help me basically tell our story. You bring the strategist in, and so you basically tell a company like, hey, I'll give you a deal that's too good to refuse. You charge 25 grand to set something up like this. Okay, you can come and do it, and I'll give you double that in equity. So that's how a startup company can do it, is they can just basically say, hey, will you help me tell the story? That's a exaggerative way. The real way is that the startup founders are just walking around like, here's these thoughts, here's those thoughts, this is what we're building. Hey, how do you like this slogan? How do you like this idea? What do you think about this concept? Would you want to buy this product? And it's all being webcast and web streamed. So that, in my mind, is how that's happening. Jake, you ready for it? Okay.
What would you say to businesses that are afraid to put content online for free because they have a paid media business model?
That's really good. So Bryant, Jake did the handoff to Bryant. He told me no, he wasn't ready, but I didn't care. I was just trying to build Jake's character. So Bryant asked me, how about companies, businesses that make money off of their content and the concern of like, hey, this disrupts our business model? Well, I would say that you better figure out a better business model, because people are not wanting to pay money to pay for content the way that they used to. It's because people that have better content than people with paid content are giving their better content away for free because they can afford to. So you have to figure out how to tie your content creation to some other way of monetizing that audience, right? So what product do you sell? What service do you sell? And if you're just selling access to videos or access to audio, then is there a way that you could integrate merch? Is there a way that you could integrate events? Is there a way that you can integrate masterminds or summits or widgets or gadgets or build a software as a service product? Like, I just think that if you're making money off of content right now, you have a subscription model, that is not going to last very long. Most likely, you're just going to have people go find something similar, maybe better, for free on YouTube or Facebook that's being live streamed and web streamed. So I would say that businesses need to be mindful of how to transition, and nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about your past or how much great content you've created or how you were an innovator or a maverick in the industry and how you built this position. Like, nobody cares. Nobody cared about the hotels when Airbnb came. Nobody cares about the taxi companies when Uber comes. People don't care. They don't care about your business model. What they care about is access to amazing, great content in as free of a way as they can possibly get it, in the platform that they want to get it at. They don't want to go to your website. They don't want to go over your paywall. They don't want to log into your .tv and pay money for it. They don't want to do it. They just don't want to. They want to go to YouTube if they're YouTube watchers. They want to go to Facebook if they like Facebook. They want to go to Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok or Snapchat. They want to go where they like to be at, and they want to find the content they want to find. And so I would encourage you, start the process of being your own competition, because if you don't compete with yourself and you have a subscription model, what's going to happen is somebody else is going to compete with you and you are going to lose it all potentially. Taxi companies could have been the Uber. They should have never let Uber come and take their business away from them. Hotels could have been Airbnb. They never should have let Airbnb come and be their competition. So if you have a subscription business and you're worried that you are losing users and you're plateauing and there's other people giving content away for free and they shouldn't be doing that, that's wrong. Nobody cares about your feelings. And with that, we're going to go to a break. I'll be back in 1 minute to talk about how webcasting will affect businesses in the next year. Welcome to Futurecast. We're talking about the future of webcasting. You can follow the energy and the action and the passion and the comments and all the stuff going on every social media site with the hashtag future of webcasting. We're going to talk right now about how webcasting will influence and affect businesses in the next year. I would like to focus on one thing, and that is the significance of women having a platform they've never had before. It's just a fact. Women have had a glass ceiling. They have, whether consciously or subconsciously, been suppressed by people in the business world. I love that I just showed the interview with Katie and Enhow from the Female Founders School. They are incredible women that I would work for. I'd work for them. I would be happy to be part of one of their companies or one of the companies of the women that they are supporting. And so what I think is going to happen in the next year is that women are going to have access, new types of access to web streaming and webcasting that they hadn't had before, because the technology, the price of entry is just zero now, and the way that these things work is just so good that you're going to have the VPs, the women that are qualified to be the CEO, qualified to be the chairman. You're going to have the VPs just decide, you know what, man, I'm done waiting for somebody to give me a platform. I'm tired of, being held back from my potential. And they're just going to start grabbing their phone. They're going to start live podcasting. They're going to start live streaming. They're just going to start webcasting. They're just going to go for it. They're going to build their influence. And then the board is going to say, why is she a VP? Like, that's the perfect candidate for our next CEO role. In addition, women that have no chance in the business sphere today because they were so gracious and sacrificial to take time away from their career and their education to actually have children and raise a family and develop a community. Like, what a sacrifice that is for a human being to do. Those women, when they come back into the workforce, they have to come back in at this entry-level thing, even though they may have more wisdom, more experience. They've overcome objections with their kids. Why? Why, mom? Why? Of their husband not meeting their expectations. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff that's going on that they're constantly dealing with. Then they go back into the workforce and they aren't really given a chance because their resume doesn't look that good or because they don't really have the work experience. And those women are going to have a chance to grab devices, go live, and tell the world what they have to say and what they believe. And that will be a massive jump for them to have more influence in the business world than they ever had before. And the reason why this is so important that this happens in the next year is that we need more estrogen leading all things business. We need women with a mother's heart to come in and have more authority in businesses. We need that. Men need that. All society needs that. And, right now, if I do an event, let's say I do an event, I have 10 speakers. I could easily send out the last 100 people I text. If I text the last 100 leaders I text, what will happen is I'll have a bunch of guys respond, yeah, I'm available, and oh yeah, here's 10 other things I spoke at this year. Because guys are just given the platform constantly, just given the platform because they have the platform. So you keep giving them the platform. If I text women, I usually won't hear back, or I'll hear back like, oh, I have never spoken at an event like that, and I'm like, no, come. Like, I want your voice. I want to hear what you have to say. I want you to be a leader in the business world. Now, it doesn't matter if I want it. It's going to happen whether I like it or not. I just happen to really like it a lot. We're going to go to a break right now for one more minute. I'll be right back to talk about how business will be impacted by webcasting in the next decade. Welcome to Futurecast. I'm going to talk with you right now about how webcasting is and will affect businesses in the next decade. So this is where I get to give a little bit more futuristic thinking. So businesses, how will businesses be affected in the next decade by live streaming and webcasting? Well, I think what's going to happen is that there'll be less employees for one, right? There's going to be a lot more independent contractors, independent business owners. But for those that are employees, I think a huge shift in businesses is that in the future, businesses will actually force their employees to be live streaming, live podcasting, live webcasting, live writing, meaning that they're live in the moment speaking to a device and it's being written, or that they're sitting at a computer and they're writing out what they want to write out and people are watching the writing on the screen, okay? All those things are going to be real. Like, you can write and you can have an audience reading your writing. You can speak and have an audience listen to your talking. You can videotape and have an audience watching your video. For sure, 10 years, that is like a no-brainer. What's going to impact businesses is that I think successful businesses with lots of employees will have a mandatory thing, maybe optional, like you can get a 10% bonus on your paycheck this month, if their employees will live podcast, live write, live webcast their experience at work. Because everybody is a media company today. And in 10 years, everybody will be a media company, and it will be very clear why that's true, and they'll understand the process, and they'll have systems in place in order to tell their story. Because when it really comes down to it, the thing that's most important in business is storytelling. It always has been, it always will be. That's what moves people to become your clients, your vendors, your partners, your advocates. That's just the reality. We're going to shift over to a video right now. This is a video that was taken January 23rd, 2018, last year, inside the Final Draft Brewery here in Redding, California, where I'm at right now. And this is with Hope Seth. She helped launch the Venture Hub here, and now she does similar work down in Anderson. And it's amazing what she has to say in this video about community and family and hope, her very name. I really hope that you enjoy this video of my friend and I talking. Welcome to the future of Shasta. For those that are tuning in online, we have a large crowd here. You cannot see them, but maybe you can all make some noise and scream for a second, louder. Prove that you're really here, that you're not a machine. Thank you for your attention, Internet.
I think we are deserving of your attention. I think that we will influence you right now, here in this conversation, as well as the conversations to follow. We will encourage you. We will infuse hope, optimism for your region, regardless if you're part of Shasta County or not. I just happen to love Shasta County and hope you are one of the people that I have so much honor for. I love what you've done. I love what you're doing. I think that you are creating a phenomenal legacy in your family with 4 children. In the business world, here in Redding, in Anderson, I know that your legacy will impact a much larger region than here. I think that you are a model of what people, not women, what people can achieve. And I'm just so happy to hear your answers to my questions.
Thank you.
So the first question is, if anything was possible, if you personally had unlimited resources, if Shasta County had unlimited resources, if every single thing people would say yes to, if the wind was in your sails, if you could not lose, if the county could not lose, and you had 10 years, just a long time from now, what could Shasta County become?
That's such a great question. So when I was thinking about this question, there's that part of me that wanted to be real idealistic and vision-oriented because my name is Hope, right? And so I do have something that fits that, but then I have some concrete answers too.
Awesome.
So I took my name and I spelled out each letter, and I feel like H stands for health. I feel like a healthy community. We want to be a community that takes advantage of our environment, but we also care about the health of our bodies, our minds, our emotions, our spirit. And as a community, there are so many efforts being underway to make sure we are a healthy community. The O stands for opportunity. I feel like we are a community that will be known for opportunity. There's opportunity that you can actually do in a small town that you don't have in big, large cities. If you look at From the Hearth and you look at some of these Black Bear Diner that started here and how it's expanded, it's so much easier to get started, and then you can take that out. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming years. P stands for peace. And I think that there's a peace and an honor and a respect among each other. But I think that's going to radiate out into the community. And E stands for education. Education really does open the door. It allows you to look outside a box that we're all kind of born in. Some people's boxes are bigger than others, but education and being able to be exposed to things that are beyond that box are so important to growth and progress. So that's my big vision. But I'd love to do some concrete things that I really feel like 10 years is it's a drop in the bucket.
Yes.
If you have kids, you know that, right? So I believe that we're going to see the rise of the remote worker.
Yes.
We're going to see remote working. It's already happening, but we're going to see it to greater extents here. New talent base. There's going to be a new base of talent and skills. Rachel Hatch just even posted that she just met someone today who had blockchain technology, born, raised right here, and working on it from here. So I think we're going to discover a whole new talent base that's here. I think there's going to be an explosion of creativity that we're going to see. This is a very creative community, and I think we're going to see new endeavors and new places of creativity and a new skill level of excellence. Creativity inspires excellence. We're going to see a new wave of entrepreneurship. Small businesses, we see a lot of those small businesses, we service them and we go, but I think we're going to see a different type of entrepreneurship, more risk, and more around the experience-based economy, where a lot of experiences and unique things we're going to see. I think we're going to see specialized training, hybrid models of education with traditional education with real skills that are going to produce high wage and skill training. Investors, I really feel like we're going to start to draw. I think in 10 years, we're going to be amazed at the level of investment that we attract from the outside. They're going to start to notice what's happening here, and they're going to want to get in on it. I think our downtown momentum in 10 years is going to have leaked over and carried over into the neighborhoods. and we're going to see a revitalization of the neighborhoods adjacent to downtown, but I also feel like it's going to go over into Park Marina, and we'll see that then begin to take shape. And then finally, I just feel like we're going to be a model city that shows what cities can be like that are in the middle of transition. There are so many cities that are in our exact same scenario with high rates of unemployment or poverty, or they're more rural, they're not connected to a metropolitan area. And I really believe that in 10 years, they're going to be coming to us and say, what did you do? And almost in disbelief, like, I just can't even believe that that's where you were, and here's where you've come to.
I love that. Does that resonate with all of you? Don't you think that's real? Can't we do that in 10 years? If we're patient, can't we do that? If we're consistent, if we don't give up, can't we achieve that? I think so. Who inspires you? Person, people, organization, like who you chasing after, who you listening to, who you following when they speak? You be quiet, you take notes. Who's your inspiration?
Yeah. I really have come to really enjoy hearing the future scouts. I call them future scouts. They live in the community, but they are like on the edge of the future. I see them going out. They're like looking out over the community at what's being done outside, but they're part of our community, and they want to discover those things and bring them back to us. And I feel like it's so important as a community that we have really open minds and open arms to hear things that we haven't heard before and we haven't seen before, but others are on the edge. They're out there scouting what's coming down the road. Yeah. Future Scouts, in terms of real local, the McConnell Foundation, everything they do is with excellence. And if I was going to take one thing that they do, is they do it with excellence. And I think as a community, we really have to, whenever we take on a project, we need to do it with excellence. Another really that I've been impressed with locally is the public sector. So education, healthcare, government, you don't really think of those as kind of being, they have a really hard job. And as I've kind of gotten involved with it, it's like it all looks easy from the outside to have a solution until you're actually trying to work inside the boxes and confines that they have. So anyone who is inside that system that is looking innovatively, and they're saying, how do we create out-of-the-box solutions, and how do we welcome out-of-the-box solutions, and how can we apply them? So I'm working with a couple collaboratives. Reach Higher Shasta is an educational collaborative that is doing just that. It's a partnership with business. It's a partnership with public health, with our K-12, early childhood, our colleges, and they're all coming together and saying, how across the whole county can we implement improvements for our kids so that they are prepared for every option that they may want to go into after high school and college. It's a real innovative, they're inside the system, but they're looking outside for answers. They're looking outside for innovative ways to move us forward. So I really respect that, because it's hard. And then finally, I just kind of wanted to throw this out there, is I look at Dubai. You guys watch what's going on in Dubai? Like, that's a crazy place. And it's if they have shown the world what you would do if money was absolutely no consideration. Like, you just don't even have to think about whether or not there's enough money. And that challenges me, because when I had the question, what would you do in 10 years? I actually had a hard time coming up with something very concrete. Yeah. And I think it's because we're so conditioned to dream within a confine of our resources. And so if we could somehow dream outside of resources and say what would be possible, then I think the convergence of people, ideas, and resources, we'll start to see that convergence. And that's what's going on with Dubai.
Yeah, I love that. I had, there's one night I had like 5 dreams in a row. And it was the same exact dream every time. And it was basically that Reading had become as extravagantly epic as Dubai. Reading, it was Reading, but it looked like the Apple building, the new circle, because it was built low to the ground. But that level of abundant prosperity and innovation had literally covered Shasta County. And it was over and over and over again. And I'll touch on that again through the night. There's a little teaser of what's to come. I want to ask you another question. Just be sensitive on time. We have a couple minutes left together. Just at this moment, we'll have lots of time to keep dreaming together in the future. I really want to actually, because you did some practical things, so I really want to dive into the call to action. And take your time. Like, don't rush it. Don't say it fast. Like, clearly articulate what can the people in this room do to get us to what Shasta County is going to become with or without their help. See, all of you here, and those of you that live here that are watching online, it's your privilege to be able to hear a call to action and how you can actually do something about it. You don't have to. You can watch everybody else do it if you want, or you can jump in and be a part of something bigger than yourself. How do we get there?
That's a good question. So, as I've worked with different organizations, one of the things I notice, especially around roundtables, is that you think of things like a pie of resources, and then everybody kind of tries to grab a piece of that pie of resources. And what it does is actually creates division within the community trying to compete for similar resources. And if we could somehow draw a bigger pie and draw a bigger vision so that we then become part of that bigger vision, right? So our piece, instead of all kind of trying to get our piece, we're all actually part of this larger vision, and we're coordinating our time and our resources together. So that's one thing I see that sometimes will keep things from moving forward is we actually just, we're trying to get our share for our organization, but when we work together, I also feel like just be open, invite, get outside of, go outside of Reading, travel a little bit, see what's being done. The other thing, I think a real call to action is we're building a community not for ourselves. We really aren't. Development, if you look at development, it is I can't even believe the patience of most land developers, you know? We're building a community for our children. I mean, even if downtown and Park Marina and all of that become the beautiful places we envision, it's our children that are going to enjoy it, right? So I feel like we need to invite perspective, we need to get involved, and we need to really see and coordinate our efforts so that we're really working in alignment and welcoming the outsider.
Yeah.
We need to welcome the outsider because our connections outside the community is part of what opens up the box that we know and understand here.
Awesome. We're out of time, but last thing, look right at that camera. It's a perfect frame. I'm not even in it. I'm looking at you, but you're just there. There's a lot of people watching. Give them one sentence. Speak to the digital audience. Share your heart with them, and we'll conclude the time.
Okay. The future belongs to those who show up. So find something you love, find something you're passionate about, and show up.
So good.
Futurecast. My name is Ian Utilli, and we are talking about the future of webcasting today, which encompasses all live streaming, live podcasting, which should exist, does not yet. I'm personally working on that. And what we're going to talk about is education. I am not a formally educated man. I do teach. I'm a guest lecturer at the University of San Francisco. I help with the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center at the City College of San Francisco. I've been involved in lots of higher education endeavors, but I myself am not a traditionally educated guy. I barely made it out of high school because I was so desiring to build things. I didn't want to sit in a class and just listen to somebody teach me things I want to go do. And so I found alternative ways to learn. I spent thousands and thousands of hours with alternative education. I have gone to like alternative, type master's programs of sorts, and that's a continual life pursuit. What we're talking about right now is education and how webcasting is impacting it right now. Let me give you some statistics that are pretty interesting. One of the #1 education organizations in the entire world is Creative Live. CreativeLive.com. or more specifically on like your smartphone or your Apple TV, download the Creative Live app. I think Creative Live has one of the greatest UX, UIs that there is. Now, they have over 10 million students in their class and over 3 billion minutes of classes. Over 3 billion minutes of classes with 10 million students. So think about just that one education company. It's an unplugged education institution. Many of their classes are made available for free. Some of their classes you may have to pay for. And they are educating the world through live web streaming, as well as the archives. And so that's happening right now. Another education institution would be an organization called Life Church. Life Church has an app called YouVersion. Okay, and YouVersion is an app that you'd find on your phone, and there's, I think, 2,300 different versions of the Bible on the YouVersion Bible app, 1,800 different languages. And so they are making the education of sacred scriptures available to all people groups, right? And what's interesting is they have 365 million users. Over 30 million of those users are Americans that are adults that have opted into their email list. So imagine that the influence they have to educate those people. So these are some statistics right now of like how education institutions are using webcasting and live streaming, because YouVersion is constantly doing webcasting and live streaming, which they would call online church. They have over 6 million unique users that do that. How about the higher institutions, right? The Stanfords, the Yale, the Harvard, the Princeton, the Pepperdine, Coursera.org, Coursera.org. Coursera and I connected, I think back in 2014. I was talking with the two founders. They're from Stanford, and they were explaining why they started. They told me the story. This is why we got into basically webcasting our university, Stanford, right? Like, we wrote the books on our topics. We are the world leaders in this topic. People come from around the world to come to our class, and they spend thousands of dollars for just our one class. And we have 100 people in the class. And we realized that, gosh, we're coming toward the end of our career. We've been doing this for decades now. Like, we really wish that we could educate more people. And so they got approval from Stanford to take their class and webcast it on Coursera.org. And in doing that, one of their classes had over 30,000 students. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being an educator and for 30 plus years, you wrote the book, you revised the book a couple dozen times. Every year, these students would come to your class and they'd listen to every word you say, and you have their captivated attention, but you only get 100, maybe 200 at a time. And then all of a sudden you think, what if I webcast? What if I webcast? I wonder if I can reach more people. And you reach 30,000. Now, it's free to take classes on Coursera, which is amazing because they are the undergrad and graduate classes from the top universities in the entire world. Everything you could possibly imagine that you'd want to learn. Secure data, privacy programming, machine learning programming, anything around business or marketing or finance, all the classes are there. If you are ambitious, if you are driven, you do not have to go to college. You can take Coursera classes for free, learn what you need to learn, and go get a job. Or you can pay $85 per class for a certificate. Maybe the price is different, but that's what it is, I think. So that's a few examples of how education organizations are currently webcasting today. I told you the example of Creative Live with 10 million students and 3 billion minutes of content. I told you the example of YouVersion, Life Church, and how they put together 365 million people being educated in the sacred scriptures, 2,300 versions of the sacred scriptures, 1,800 languages, and having 6 million unique users for their online church. And I told you the example of Coursera, right? Just a couple Stanford University professors that had an idea. I wonder if I could reach more people if Stanford would let me take my classes and put them online. And of course they did. They went from 100 to tens of thousands. And so that is one way that webcasting is impacting people today, right? You have the creative community that's building their own education curriculum, some free, some paid, a lot of it live. You have the faith community taking their content and making that content available for free, some live, mostly archived. And then you have even the higher education universities coming together under the banner of Coursera and doing the same thing. We're going to run a 1-minute commercial, just kind of telling you some of the things that are coming up next and what I'm talking about, and thanking the different regions that are tuned in. And then we will be right back in 1 minute so I can talk about the future of webcasting for education in the next year. Welcome to Futurecast. This is the future of webcasting. And we're going to talk about the future of live streaming specific to education in the next year. Before I dive into what I think is going to happen the next year, let me just read you a couple statistics that my brilliant team just pulled up for me. 86% of colleges are on YouTube. 55% of college professors and presidents plan to have their university online in the next 2 years. 77% of colleges already have online classes, and there's 5.8 million students that are enrolled in online courses. In the next year, I think you're going to see those statistics shift from 86 and 55 and 77 to nearly 100%. The fact is, colleges are probably, I want to say this graciously. Higher education university could potentially be considered a con job. The fact is, to charge a young person $50,000 or $500,000 to go through your education institution for 4 years or 9 years, only with the output being a certificate, the college not even helping them get job interviews, not even helping them with ongoing mentorship, and in many cases, not even teaching them something that's actually needed in the market, I think colleges are in big trouble. There's trillions of dollars of student loans, and I think that you're going to have a huge, huge, huge backlash to the student loans. All it takes is one charismatic person to step up and rally people around the education institution and say, it is immoral to pay your student loans, it is immoral to pay your student tuition because it's a con job and you need to stop immediately, we need to rethink how education is done. Like, I think that could happen tomorrow. So if that happens, education is going to change drastically because people are going to disengage from higher learning institutions as they are. Most private colleges will not be able to survive financially. The huge universities that have massive endowments will make it through the transition. And what will happen is a lot of people will demand what they actually need from education. Great, modern, up-to-date, webcast, live-streamed information that's not a week or 5 years old, but modern today. They demand that. They're going to get that probably in the next year. It's going to happen more and more and more. In addition to that, they're going to demand the ability for networking, which we already can do for free on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So a higher education institution has to provide something greater for networking than they can already get for free. They'll also demand some sort of support and help with relationships and getting job interviews if they're going to pay all this money for it. I think you'll find that the vocational programs will rise up and will take a prominent place. CreativeLive.com is basically a vocational program on how to become a great musician, studio engineer, a great photographer, a great videographer, a great graphic designer. Like those vocational programs, there's 10 million students in Creative Live right now that are going through 3 billion minutes of training. So I think in the next year, you're going to likely see a very significant backlash to higher education because the cost does not equal the value, right? People are used to now getting this much value from Spotify, unlimited music for free with commercials or for $10. That's what human beings have gotten used to. That much value for this much sacrifice, but not with higher education. It's 50 grand to $500,000 for this much value. Old, stale information that is not necessarily perfect for today. Now, I imagine I probably offended some people, and I would say to you, you probably should be more concerned about the content you're creating and the value that you're charging for than being offended by me. We're going to go to a break, and I'll be right back to talk about what I think is going to happen in education in the next 10 years. Welcome to Futurecast. My name is Ian Utilli. We're going to talk about how webcasting is impacting the future of education. And, when I think about education in 10 years, I would like to believe that we have mostly a decentralized way of teaching and of learning, and that most of it will be live streamed, both live streamed to an audience and the audience absorbing this live stream with other people that they're co-learning with. And maybe teachers are live streaming that they're co-teaching with. So you imagine, like, let's pick something everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know how to be a better in relationships, I think. Most people do. So if you brought the best relationship experts together, but they didn't have to physically be side by side in 10 years, they're wherever they're at, right? And they all are doing this collective live streaming to maybe the millions of people at one time that want to learn from those that have mastered the art of emotional intelligence and interpersonal relationships, okay? And you can have tens of thousands or millions of people all absorbing this live streaming of this education of interpersonal relationships at the same time that all of these legendary Jedis of relationships are all co-teaching together. And what I envision about live streaming is that we will go into micropayments. So what will happen if you have many, many teachers teaching one topic and you have many students learning one topic is you'll have micropayments in between each other. So when one of those millions of students are impacted by what that woman says or what that guy says, they can choose to basically give them a penny or $5 or whatever that transition of currency would be. And they'd be like, oh, wow, that was so powerful. I choose to give them my compensation. So I think that in 10 years, we're going to have this ability to where only the best teachers in the world will have millions of students, and only the most significant students that freely compensate the teachers will even be invited into that community. So I think we're going to basically vet both the great teachers of topics and the great students of topics. And it's going to be a mixture of webcasting, live streaming, and micropayments going back and forth with the entire experience all held into the distributed ledger technology, which is called blockchain, and all really run by machine learning, which we call artificial intelligence. And really, the operating system that we will interface is going to be audio, right? Whether it's Alexa or Assistant or Siri, doesn't matter what it is. But basically, the teachers will teach through that audio device. The machine learning will make it all work. The distributed ledger will have the smart contracts churning away. The students will be invited. They'll have to qualify to even learn this content because they're the ones that constantly say thank you with some sort of currency of sorts. So when I think about education in the future, I think of this really brilliant, like ideal situation. Like, why do we have money? Think about why we have money. Money is a coordination tool. That's what it's for. It's to coordinate value between people. You have money, so I can coordinate. Hey, I'm going to give you this for you to give me value, and vice versa. Okay? Money, the financial world, is a coordination tool. What's going to happen when we have voice as an operating system, machine learning fairly excellent, and the distributed ledger holding all things accountable, proving trust? When you have that perfect system, and then you add education and live streaming, whether it's audio or video-based live streaming, and then you have all these people, tens of thousands, millions of people learning the same thing at the same time, competing against who's going to compensate that teacher the most. So you kind of add in a gamification. Like, well, I want to show the teacher that I'm most grateful for what they just said. And then all these teachers complimenting each other, but also wanting to provide the most value so that the students will compensate them best. And the whole thing happening real time and live. I really think that that is absolutely a possibility within 10 years. And I think that is a wonderful outcome that I'd like to see educators and technologists work hard to create. What we're going to do right now is we're going to transition to a video. This video is of me interviewing my friend Rachel Milano, who is part of the staff for the mayor of Bristol in the UK. And this is before she did their big, huge international mayors gathering. And she had just flown in from the UK into San Francisco. And I said, oh my gosh, you're in town. Will you please come to my event, The Future of Technology? This is my very first event. I'd never really done my own event. It kind of happened by accident. It was at the Runway Innovation Hub inside of Twitter's headquarters on November 28th, 2017. So it's my oldest video I'm going to show you. But I think it's a really, really fun conversation where Rachel and I get to talk a bit about government and technology. And after this, we have our very last segment for Futurecast, where I'm going to talk about the future of webcasting for government. I really hope you enjoy this video and enjoy Rachel like I do. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Rachel is not on the schedule because she just got added last night. When I found out that Rachel could come, I was like, wow, really? You could come all the way from around the world, right? You're from Bristol, UK. Bristol, UK was just named the #1 smart city in all of UK. It just surpassed London. That's right. Just excitement for UK, and specifically for Bristol, the city that you're in. And my wife and I, we've spent time, my wife's a musician, so we've toured around the world doing her music, and we spent time in Bristol, and so I'm familiar with the city. But you, when I met you recently, I go, you might have the best reputation of anybody in kind of our network. I'm like, I don't know if you've ever done anything wrong. You know, it's like everybody just constantly talks about this world-changing thing, this incredible thing that you're doing, how you're making a difference. And so when I found out you were coming, I thought, oh man, like I got to make room. I'll move people aside. I'll shorten up time. I'll have, just to give you a chance, to give you a stage to inspire everybody here.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Could you introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah.
Who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of dive into your thought on the future of technology and how it affects cities like San Francisco.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name's Rachel Milano. As Ian said, I'm from the UK, and I am an advisor to the Mayor of Bristol. So I will give you a little bit of context about Bristol, as I assume most people here are from America or around the world watching are Americans. So we are a city of around 500,000 people. We were recently voted the kindest city to live in the UK and the best city to live in the UK. And of course, we overtook London as the leading smart city in the UK. We have 2 universities. One of our universities frequently is in the top 10 universities in the country. We maintain and keep most of our graduates, which is really unheard of as a city. And we have tons of tech startups in our city. And we want to be the Silicon Valley of Europe. And we are actually considered by many to already be that. And we're well on the way to doing that. So yeah, there's a little bit about us. And I'm here on behalf of the mayor. He's given me permission to represent him here. So I'm just, by the end of today, and by the end of my 10 minutes, you're all going to want to move to Bristol. Let me tell you. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the mayor? I mean, to be the mayor's advisor, like that's a significant decision with your life. Like, I'm going to spend my time serving this politician. I believe in his mission. Can you just talk a bit about who he is, his character, why you're behind him? Like, I just want you to just make a big noise about how amazing he is. Because again, he's another man that just has this awesome reputation. The more I hear about him, the more I want to meet him myself.
Yeah, Google him. He's probably going to be the next prime minister in maybe, well, not the next, maybe in 8 years. We'll give him some time. His name is Marvin Rees. He came from a really poor family. He is from African descent, from slaves actually, I think, and originally. And we're a city that was built on slavery. So it's super ironic that he was the first European African descent mayor to be elected ever of a European city, and we are a city that made its money on slavery back in the day. So it's a real story full of redemption, but he was brought up by a single mother. He was brought up in women's refuges around the city, super humble guy. I helped him run his campaign. We were the underdogs. We weren't supposed to win. I know we're streaming, so I'm just going to be careful what I say, but we ran a very clean campaign in the face of a very dirty opposition. And he was he is a man of real integrity and decided to run a very clean campaign. And that was something that was the core of our campaign, and we won by a landslide. And we have had a very inclusive, part of our thing is real inclusivity in the city, that we want to involve everyone in what we're doing. So, you know, the issue of tech, we just don't want to see anyone left behind in the city. So that's something, that's kind of one of the things that I want to talk about, actually.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do this? If you're the #1 smart city in UK, I would assume that you have the greatest chance for failure, falling flat on your face, and having technology basically bite you. You also have the greatest chance for success because you're already ahead of the curve. Can you just talk about, like, as you project 8 years from now, let's say you're going to have some new prime minister, 8 years from now, start to project 8 years. What is the worst possible thing that technology could do to actually be destructive in your city and in your country? And what's the best possible thing? Like, just paint like the two pictures of what could happen for city transformation based on technology's influence.
Well, I am a hopeless optimist. So I'm a millennial, and I refuse to be sucked into the pessimistic system of politics. So as an advisor, I'm always trying to push an optimistic position. So I don't want to spend too long on the pessimistic, because I have some really cool optimistic stuff that I want to talk about. But I guess the dystopian view is particularly around the area of the loss of jobs, right? So we know that, and we've heard people talk about this before, that the tech industry is accelerating at a massive rate. We commissioned a report recently that in the UK that found out that 748,000 jobs are going to be required of people with digital skills in the very near future. We don't have that currently in, like this, we don't have that right now. So we need to start training those people, and we need to start training them now. Also, we need to start getting people from specific sectors. So we don't want a city that is siloed, where we have a tech area. Okay, so this side of the city is where the tech people are. This side of the city is where the refugees are. This side of the city is where the black people live. This is where the rich people live. This is where the construction workers live. Oh no, actually construction industry is now dead. So, this side of the city is now in poverty, and all the rich tech people, we don't want that. So we've got to find a way where we can integrate everyone and start thinking outside of the box to training people in these new skills and getting people integrated. So that's worst case scenario, I think. I mean, there's a million worst case scenarios that we're planning for, because we're seeing this. We've seen this coming down the road for a long time, so we're not naive to it. But I only have 10 minutes, so I don't want to waste it on talking about the worst case scenarios.
Go for it.
So let's go for the
Cast division. what can a city do? What's San Francisco be doing? What is Bristol doing?
Okay. One of the things that we are doing is we have a project that we're running right now called Bristol is Open. And basically, it is like it sounds. We are open. We're open for business. So as a leading smart city, we have something going on right now, which is a partnership between Bristol City Council and Bristol University. So Bristol University is at the forefront of tech. Bristol University hosts Bristol Robotics Laboratory, which is the leading robotics center for robotics research for the UK. So we're at the forefront of tech anyway for the UK, right? So Bristol is Open is this partnership which has resulted in smart city R&D, communication technology, which is made available all around the city. So we're laying fibers all around the city, and we're integrating different wireless technologies on trying to integrate them on one, one mesh net?
Yeah.
Is that the word? And so we're trying to take it to a new level all around the city to create a connectivity. And then we are inviting in startups and other companies to come in and trial their technology in a real live sort of environment. So we're saying, hey, don't just trial your technology in a lab, come and trial it in a real life city. So we're saying like, Bristol is open, so we want you to come and innovate with us in our city. So this is one way that we're doing this, and we're saying even better, if you want to start creating, if you want to come and you want to start having accelerator programs, training programs, but you want to start partnering with kids from inner city areas, we want you to come start doing that, and we will make a way for that to happen in our city. So I know I don't have much time left, but I have some other cool things that we're doing. So housing.
Take advantage of the last bit of time and just wrap it up. And if you want to have a call to action, some people are streaming probably from the UK.
Yeah.
How do they get involved? Some people here, they might be looking to say, hey, I'm ready to leave San Francisco. I'm just passing through. Like, Bristol sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Like, invite us to get involved. Invite them to get involved. Like, capitalize on this last moment.
I will, don't you worry. Got my pitch all set. So housing is something that we as a city have a real issue with. So we've started thinking outside of the box. So we're creating modular housing, and we've got prefab technology. We are partnering with a robotics company in the city that creates robotic furniture. So you press a button and it turns into like a bedroom. You press another button, it turns into like a living room. You press another button, it turns into a kitchen. We've found we have found a company that works with ex-offenders, and we're saying, why don't we give you the contract? And you then, basically, you take the contract for that. So it works for you, for the ex-offenders. So we're keeping you from reoffending. You're now learning a new skill. You're building houses for everybody. Like, it basically is just working for the whole economy. What if we start teaching women coming out of trafficking to code once they've come out? What if we start re-envisioning society so that everybody is winning? What if we start thinking outside of the box? The digital revolution has happened, but the issue now is, what are we building towards? And how are we as society and as city leaders actually building? Yeah. So I have more I could say, but what I want to say to you is next year, Bristol is hosting something called the Global Parliament of Mayors. And it's going to be, it's 80 to 100 mayors from around the world coming to Bristol. We're hosting a 2.5-day conference. It's leading mayors, okay, from leading cities around the world. We're talking Mayor of LA, last year it was Mayor of Melbourne, Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, mayors of leading cities around the world. As the tech sector, so as Silicon Valley, if I could invite you on behalf of the mayor to come and sit down in front of 80 to 100 of the world's leading mayors what would you say to them? What could we not do to change the world if we took the tech sector and we took 100 of the world's leading mayors and we collaborated together and we started thinking innovatively outside of the box? By the way, did you know that every week 1 million people are moving to cities more than the week before, which means that by the year 2050, 2/3 of the world's planet will be living in cities. So we can't ignore this. So 21st to the 23rd of October next year, hundreds of the world's leading mayors hopefully will be in Bristol. Hopefully we'll get 100 of them. Come, be part of it, connect with us.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. We thank Rachel for coming out here from around the world. Welcome to Futurecast. My name is Ian Utilli, and we've been live streaming now for over 3 hours. And so I just want to say, gosh, you are doing really good. Standing up there that whole time, just staying with me, eye to eye, camera. I'm talking to you, and to all the people behind the camera. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. We're gonna have a little fun and throw a Frisbee. And I'm gonna take some questions from the folks that are in the room. And we are talking now about the very last topic, government, okay? So how does the future of webcasting impact government? How about webcasting impacting government today? There's a lot to say. Governments have never, ever been so accountable and so vulnerable to the will of the people, because now things are being exposed in a way they hadn't before. How will webcasting impact government in a year, and how about in the next decade? What we've already covered today is art, news, faith, family, business, and education. And so we've talked a lot about those 6 industries, those spheres of influence, and how webcasting and live streaming, and hopefully soon live podcasting, will impact these industries. And so now we're going to talk about government, and I'm going to throw the Frisbee to my friends. The Google Frisbee, Jake, is coming right at you. Were you ready for that?
I'm ready. So do you think that webcasting will affect, like, let's say your community organizing aspect of the political process? Do you think it will affect your engagement, your physical engagement, like your door-to-door, that people will just be going more online, or will it serve more as a kind of like an announcement feature, like, hey, everyone, we're organizing here at X Park, be there, and this is why, and you have all your folks, your political leaders speaking through the live cast?
So the question was, do I think that webcasting political-based content will just be a monologue, or maybe a dialogue, or more specifically, cause physical action? So let's take Andrew Wang as an example. Andrew Wang is likely going to be one of the Democratic presidential nominees that will go fairly far, if not take it all the way. I mean, I think, all you have to do is have like Oprah as Andrew Wang's VP, or The Rock, or Will Smith, and I think you got a real combo that's going to do some damage in this presidential election. And I don't really have a fight in the race. I don't really care. I love everybody. I like them all. I'm grateful that people want to serve the country. Thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. Thank you, Obama. Thank you, George Bush. I am very grateful that you're willing to deal with the anxiety and the fear and the overwhelming criticism that you've dealt with serving our country, or trying to. Andrew Wang is using webcasting in a way that is very aggressive and very, very smart. So I've seen Andrew Wang on, let's see, The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God and the DJ and the gal that's like the radio program podcast. I've seen him with Ben Shapiro. I've seen him with Joe Rogan Live. And so Andrew is good at branding, a very intelligent entrepreneur. He's been able to take a lot of the Democratic, more liberal policies and things like universal basic income. He's changed the brand of universal basic income, and he's changed it to the freedom dividend. I think that's brilliant. Or he came up with his own bad brand that he thinks Donald Trump will call him. He said he thinks Donald Trump will call him Comrade Yang. which I think is very funny. So now Donald can't use that one. He's going to have to come up with something worse, something different. So when I look at Andrew Wing, I see a man that is using live streaming, webcasting on other people's platforms. He's using The Breakfast Club. He's using CNN. He's using MSNBC. He's using Joe Rogan. He's using Ben Shapiro. And he's having these intelligent conversations that are live streamed and webcast. And the result is I've had friends reach out to me and say, I've never voted before. I've never volunteered for any political party. And have you heard of Andrew Wing? That's why I started checking Andrew Wing out. Reminds me of Bernie Sanders 4 years ago. Reminds me of Ron Paul 8 and 12 years ago. Reminds me of Ralph Nader 20 years ago. And so I see that Andrew Wing is doing something with live streaming and webcasting by leveraging other people's platforms to be able to have a voice where people are actually at watching Joe Rogan, watching Ben Shapiro, not just dependent on only CNN and MSNBC, and actually having conversations that's causing my friends to rise up with physical action. So my answer to you is that if you're smart and wise and strategic like Andrew Wing and have content that people relate with, yes, this webcasting for government political things will cause real life engagement. Ludwig, the Frisbee's coming your way.
Thank you. The question I have for you is, how will webcasting bring more transparency to local city government?
It's good. How will webcasting bring more transparency to local city government is the question from my friend. And we're talking about now. So how will that happen now? How is that happening now? Well, it used to be that if you wanted to run for politics in the local city, that you built some signs and you got some people at your house and you convinced them that either you were so important to their local region that they should give you money, or that if you were elected, you would be able to do things for them and their businesses and their communities that the other people wouldn't do. And so that's how you got elected into politics. City council, mayor, city manager, all the different elements that are in place. So the way I see it happening now is that we no longer are just calling people up. Like, I don't know if people know, but the way Jimmy Carter got elected president is he had a Rolodex and he literally went through his Rolodex, okay? Like, Jimmy Carter had no chance ever in the history of the world to be elected president. Not a chance. But he was an aggressive cold caller. So he grabbed his phone and he was like Will Smith on The Pursuit of Happiness. He never put his phone down. He just went and he said, hey, I need you to come to my house and need to talk with you. Okay, can you come? Okay. And then he left the phone on, hung up, and he did it again. He made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls through his Rolodex, gathered people together. Those people said, we believe that you're the right man for the country, or we believe that you're going to do more for us than the other guy, and so let's make some signs that say Jimmy Carter for president. That has been the system. The system has changed. Obama and his political advocates and followers changed the system forever. And of course, you saw the same thing is drastically different with Donald Trump and the way that he got elected. And now it's not about federal that you asked, it's about local. So here's why it's going to change so much. People are no longer dependent on signs and getting donations from people. The fact is, you can win a city council position, you could win a mayor position. Now, city managers are hired by the city council, so you don't really win that. But you could convince the city council that you're the right woman or man for the job with the right vision and the right passion. They can build teams and make things happen. And the way you could do that is webcasting. And so I think that people right now are not gathering people together and fundraising or building signs and putting signs down or making cold calls or sending mail or buying commercials. I don't think that that actually works. I think what works is social media, webcasting, and I think because of that, what will happen in cities and regions is that since that's how they got elected, that's how they'll continue to communicate. And I see that right here in Redding, California with the mayor, Julie Winter, and she started off as a city councilwoman, and then she's become mayor, and I see that she is much, much more comfortable and fluent with communicating by webcasting and live streaming than she ever would have been 10 or 30 years ago, because back then it just would have been the one paradigm of I make signs, I raise money, I buy commercials, I buy radio, I have cold callers. Now it's a completely different paradigm. She goes direct to the people and she says, hi, I'm Julie Winters. I think I can help a lot with economic development. I've been a nurse practitioner here in the city for X number of decades. I've been involved in all this nonprofit work with Advanced Reading and with Bethel, and I think you can trust me. And so she's having this conversation with the webcast, right? And she's communicating with them. And what happens then is then she continues to communicate as she's elected, because that's the basis by which she got elected in the first place. Bryant, here comes the Google Frisbee.
Ian, how can webcasting facilitate more dialogue between people and politicians?
That's really good. The fact is, everybody is now accessible. So the question was, how can webcasting create a dialogue between the people and politicians? Well, everybody's accessible. So unless a politician is very disconnected and ready to not win office next time, they are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, at least some of them. And so you can basically communicate with them. And the fact is, if you post a live video yourself and you say, Mr. Mayor, Miss Governor, City Council woman, Superintendent, sir, I am concerned. I'm very, very concerned about something that you have authority over. And so I'm going live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Hopefully that will happen for me one day. I'm like, come on, LinkedIn, let me live stream. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. But they told me I'm on the waiting list. Back to the question at hand. Just got a little spun right there. You tell your city council, mayor, governor, superintendent person, this is what I'm concerned about. I need you to answer me right now. I'm holding you accountable and saying, this is what needs to change in our region, in our state. And what will happen is if that person does not respond, their lovers that glorify them, their haters that demonize them, will bring some chatter to your live stream and pop that bad boy to the top of awareness and attention. And so anybody can make a massive impact on a politician that is looking to be elected, is already elected and looking for re-election, just by live streaming and live webcasting directly to them about the issue that you are concerned about. Signing waivers and petitions and sending signatures and making calls is fine. It's fine. If you want to do that, you go right ahead, but that is an old model, and I suggest that you think about the fact that today there is a new model, not in a year, not in a decade. The model today is grab your phone, grab your device, and communicate directly with that person through the social media thing that you want to, tag them, hashtag them, and make your voice heard. Teddy, here comes the Google Frisbee. Ooh, nice, strong throw.
Tell us how webcasting is going to help politics and government be more accountable.
So, webcasting. The question is, how is webcasting making politics and government more accountable? So, look at Egypt. The reason why Twitter was validated, the reason why Twitter had social proof, is because Twitter brought light to Egypt. All the news stations, whether it was Fox or MSNBC or CNN or some of the more fringe news media outlets, they all started using Twitter videos. Then they started using Facebook videos and then YouTube videos. So what's happening right now is just an evolution of what started in the political unrest of Egypt. Now you've seen it in Venezuela. You've seen it all across America on a federal, state, and regional level. When people are not happy with what's going on, they're going to grab their phone and they're going to say something about it. I mean, the fact is, if you use a Siri shortcut, if you set up Siri shortcuts, you can literally set a Siri shortcut and just talk to Siri and say, Instagram Live. And it opens the app, opens the live button, goes live, and you're live in half a second. You do a Siri shortcut, Twitter Live, same thing. YouTube Live, same thing. Facebook Live, same thing. I mean, I'm telling you, man, if you don't like what's going on with the political government stuff, no matter where you're at, where you live, what language you speak, even if you don't have a phone, you just tell somebody, hey, you got a phone? can you go live, please? I have something to say. Like almost everybody has a phone. If you don't, and you got something to say, you're going to hold government and government officials accountable by webcasting directly to them because you have a voice. We're going to go to a 1-minute break, and I'll be right back to talk about the future of webcasting regarding government in the next year. Welcome to Futurecast. My name is Ian Utilli, and what we're talking about right now is the future of webcasting. You can follow the energy, action, comments, likes, shares, and all the glorious engagement on just about any social media site, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. We are streaming live right here in this camera in YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and Instagram. I see you, and you have beautiful pictures. LinkedIn, hey, you keep working. Don't pay attention. You go make some money. Now, we're live everywhere talking about Futurecasting, the future of webcasting. And I'm giving a painting away. Do you see this beautiful art below me? Do you see this unbelievable, glorious artwork that's happening right down here with the dude and the freedom and the flag and that painting is actually 100% of the proceeds. If you buy that painting right now at josie.io, that painting goes directly to charity for that cause. And so Josie, her name is Josephine Bellini. She is a crypto artist. She's a amazing, amazing artist that I just absolutely love what she creates. She has 8 different prints on her website, josie.io. I am going to pick somebody in the next half hour, less than a half hour. I'm going to pick somebody in the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to give that person one of her paintings. And so we'll just let you know in the window, the chat, or whatnot. And so it's not too late. All you have to do is leave a comment. I'd love for you to ask a question or tell me what you think about webcasting. Right now we're talking about the government, and so I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen the next year, and then I'll be right back to talk about what's going to happen in the next decade. And before I do that, let me say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen as far as webcasting impacting government in the next year that's not happening today? Well, I'm going to take this to the federal American focus because in the next year, we are going to have a new election. And the next year will be fully engaged with the next presidential election. You know, one thing that was so interesting about the last presidential election in America is the way that Donald Trump, our current president, used Twitter and Facebook. But I mean, really, he just went varsity on tweets, didn't he? And it's very interesting to watch all of his tweets. I think that's going to transition to webcasting. And I don't think it's going to be quite as spontaneous. I believe that a year from now, all of the Democratic folks that are going to be going after and trying to compete with Donald Trump for that role, I think that they are going to be live streaming their life. They are going to be talking about brutally vulnerable and transparent things. I expect to see the presidential candidates literally grabbing their phone and talking about, like, here's what I learned when I had an abortion. Here's what I learned as a drug addict. Here's what I learned when I went bankrupt. Like, I really expect that to happen on a federal level. I think that these men and women are going to completely drop the fig leaf, and they're going to become extremely exposed so that nobody else can expose them, so they actually have a chance at having a communication line that's open dialogue. And those that are all buttoned up and tied up and all tidy and they got it all dialed and they're trying to control their image, I don't think they have a chance at even getting elected as a Democratic nominee, let alone a chance against Donald Trump, who clearly is very exposed all the time. And his tweets are not the only reason why. So I think that what you're going to have the next year is you're going to have a lot of these people are going to basically live their life in front of everybody. And they're going to do it on a regular basis, and they're going to aggressively be communicating with all the social media sites live in a vulnerable way, and they'll probably expose themselves before they start and during, and eventually they'll expose themselves so much, all their failures, all their mistakes, all their tragedies, all their, they won't even focus as much on their triumphs. You're going to find that people are going to try and attack communication, and instead of saying, I'll be the best president of all time, or I'm so great, you're going to find people are going to come from a completely different place of, all I can say is I'm willing. That's all I can really tell you. I'm willing to run the country. I'm willing to do this. This is what my feelings are, and they're going to do it on a regular basis. And it's the person that does that most, best, and most honestly that will probably end up as the Democratic nominee against Trump. I do not think by any means that means that they are going to beat Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is a unbelievable candidate running dude. That guy, he caught everybody by surprise, didn't he? I don't care if you thought he was the greatest man that ever walked on the earth and he's the president that is anointed by God or whatever it is that you think. You still were surprised that night, weren't you? Come on. Everybody was. And so it's because he used Twitter, which was kind of like live webcasting text, right? But we're going to see in the next year the political system live webcasting video and audio in a way that will be unlike any other time. Now, of course, this will play into every language, every tribe, every nation, every presidential, governor, mayor, city council race across the world. We will be encouraged and motivated by what we see other people do, and we will also set the tone as well. That is what I believe will happen with webcasting and the government in the next year. We're going to take a quick break, and I will be right back with our very final segment, which is when I talk about government and webcasting in the next decade. Welcome to Futurecast. I've been standing here for almost 4 hours now, and I feel good. I could go another 8 hours. I did 12 hours at the PlayStation Theater in New York Times Square back in February for the NFT NYC, so I'm feeling like this is just a little jog. It's not a full marathon for me. I want to, before I wrap up my vision for the government and how it's going to be run and how it's going to be impacted by webcasting soon, I would like to talk with you about a couple of statistics that my team pulled up regarding webcasting and government before we talk about the future. So there's 7 million viewers that watched several hundred politically focused streams, and there's thousands and thousands of comments. And so that is kind of where things were at 3 years ago. Now, that's probably happening on a weekly basis. So what used to take a year in 2016 now is happening at such an accelerated rate, 50 times the rate, pretty amazing, right? You have 82% of people prefer live video to archived social media posts. Okay, so if you have 100 people and you're a politician and you want to impact all 100 of them, 82 of those 100 don't want your archived, perfect, cut, edited that says, this is approved by homeboy or homegirl. No, that's not what they want. They don't want that. They don't want the perfect picture with your family and you smile. They're not interested. What they want is they want you in your kitchen to go live and say stupid things that your opponents can pick on you about. They want the real, authentic you, live streamed, live webcasted. 80% of people would rather watch live video than read a blog. Okay, so if you're going to write a blog, maybe put a live video in the blog. Maybe go live and then have a blog created. That's what I would imagine is the right thing to do. There's numerous cities and townships in Arizona, North Carolina, Chicago, as well as parts of California that stream their city council meetings several times a week on average. I know that happens right here in Redding, California. That's happening today. Those are some statistics right now. How about 10 years from now? In 10 years, depending on what happens with the development of distributed ledger technology called blockchain, machine learning called artificial intelligence, and voice as an operating system called a vocal hug. What's going to happen with those three things is as they progress in the next decade, is they will all simultaneously progress together, and we people in governments being governed will use our voice to speak to tech with machine learning doing all the things that people manually do for us today. The machines are doing it, and the machines are accountable to the smart contracts and the third-party ledger system of distributed ledger technology. And all three of those things will work simultaneously together so that we can communicate with government and government can communicate with us without any middlemen. How that will change government is that really, in its full development, there's not really a need for governments like we have today. I mean, for war, but who wants to go to war except for the people that are running the government? Which is a very strange thing to think about. I don't want to go to war, do you? Do you want to kill anybody? I don't. I just want to realize that 99.9999999% of things I have in common with the other 7.5 billion people on the earth. And that it's probably a lot better to complement one another, collaborate together, than to constantly be competing, or even worse, fighting violently over things as personal and as faith or belief or control. So I think that as all these things happen, the government hopefully becomes more libertarian. Please, less government. Are you hearing me, government? I want less of you. Okay, you need to go on a diet. Less of you, please. Pretty please. With a cherry on top. Now I'm thinking about Pulp Fiction. Pretty please. That was such a good moment. I'm almost done with this webcast. And so what I imagine in the next decade is that you're going to have the government fully transparent, fully accountable. Every single meeting will be live streamed behind closed doors. There will be no secrets, no privacy, all transparency. People will be completely known that are ruling and governing and that are part of governments. And I think it'll be more regional too. I don't think that we're going to have the same focus on things like federal government or United Nations. I think we're going to reel back to state, reel back to regional, reel back to cities, reel back to towns. And I think we're going to learn how we, smaller tribes of people, can govern ourselves a little bit better with the help and support of a larger government that helps us put rules and regulations to protect ourselves in place through things like smart contracts and machine learning automation, all through voice automation as the operating system. So I could talk about this on and on and on, more and more and more, but I have a really fun video that I want to show you. And after this video, I will be right back to wrap up our time together and to conclude my thoughts on everything regarding futurecasting or the future of webcasting. The video that you're about to see happened last month. It was on April 9th this year. It was with my parents. So I did, I think it was 8 hours that we did the event. It was called the Voice of the Car Summit. And I believe I interviewed maybe 30 or so people inside the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center broadcast studio. And all these legendary people I learned so much from. And at the very end of the day, I decided that I wanted to bring my mom and dad up. My mom, as you'll hear, is a general contractor, has been for 45 years. My mom, a real estate agent for about the same amount of time. And we were talking about voice technology in cars. And so I just brought them up to honor them and to show them, show the world my love and loyalty and commitment to them as their son. So much, if not all, of the good things in my life are because of my parents. I have older people ask me from time to time kind questions like, wow, why do you think the way you think? Or how do you know the things you know? And I almost always say, Gim and Gary Utilli. My parents are legendary, and they have made me who I am. And so at this event last month, I brought them up, and I let them share a little bit about what they'd like to see voice tech bring in real estate or in construction. And I thought that'd be a fun thing to show you. And after this little quick 5-minute video, I'll be right back to wrap up and conclude our time together. I am Ian Utilli. I'm here at the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center at the Voice of the Car Summit. And I am here with my parents right now. To the left of your screen, the right of me, is my mom, Kim Utilli. She has been a real estate agent and so much more. Of course, an amazing grandmother of 6 grandboys. And me and my brother raising us, a teacher. But her primary thing has been a real estate agent, so she's always spending time on the road. And now all these changes are happening. I thought I'd love to hear what she thinks about voice technology in cars. To your right of me, or my left shoulder, is my father, Gary Utilli, who has always been and will continue to be my hero. The ultimate entrepreneur, man, never had a job, never had a boss, never had help, has just made things happen and built people's home as a contractor. And again, as a contractor, a man that has driven from job site to job site to job site, ran crews, always having to use 2 hands and a steering wheel and 2 feet to drive a car. Now this thought of like, wow, could a truck drive him? And could he talk to that truck and it be a productivity machine? I thought, gosh, they just came in to say hello. I kind of grabbed them, maybe a little bit against their will, to come join me for a brief moment. So, first, Dad, my hero.
Thank you.
So glad I'm your son.
Good boy.
Imagine your truck driving you in a few years, and you being able to have conversations with your truck and telling it what to do, to order lumber from Big Creek, to tell the subcontractor to be here at this time, like these types of productivity things happening for you and all the people that you've mentored and discipled in the trades over the years. How might that impact your industry?
Well, time is valuable, and when I'm in the truck, it's nice to be useful. I'm already using the phone with hands off, which is valuable also. To take it to another level would be great. And of course, I feel like a dinosaur just trying to catch up with the technology because it's moving so fast. But yeah, it would be an asset, and I would use it.
So for everybody out there making technology for contractors, here's your case study. Okay, Mom, real estate agent for decades and decades. You spend so much time on the road meeting with your clients. What would it be like to have a productivity machine that takes you from place to place? How would that transform things for you as a real estate agent, or as you think of the next generation that is able to, as Dad said, to save time because time is so valuable?
Time is so valuable, and once the time is gone, we don't get it back. So I would love to see this come to fruition so that any of us that have to spend the hours as a realtor that I do in my vehicle or in front of my computer, if I could speak to set up appointments, make contact, and not necessarily have to get my phone, make a phone call, leave a message, but use my voice to set up my appointments, make sure my clients are happy, be more productive. Just be more productive with the time that I have. That would be so wonderful. I would love that.
And so this is it for me in the broadcast studio for this event. You're going to see so much more content from Voice First TV. One thing I want to express to you is how important it is for all you young people that are young startup people that are trying to be new VUI designers or the new big app company in voice. Do you ask your elders what they think? They're there for you. They want to help you.
They want to give you insight in how voice can transform construction or real estate. And they even want to throw the Google Frisbee at the camera. So, Dad, take it away. Here comes a video. Next thing you know, Katie's on the main stage. Over and out.
That was not my dad throwing me the Frisbee, but I thought that would be kind of cool. That was my mom and dad. Hope that you love them. To know them is to love them. And I am done with our webcast. But don't go anywhere yet. I still have a few things to say. First of all, I would like to thank everybody in this room. Ludwig, Teo, Eli, Jesse, Sean, Ted, Bryant, Jake. I am incredibly grateful for all of you spending all the time that you took to prepare for today and to be here and to partner with me in the way that you have. There's no amount of money I could ever pay you that would make you do all the things that you do in partnership with me. And so I just am so incredibly grateful for all of you. And for anybody watching, understand that, nothing great happens alone. Like, if this would be a much different experience if it was me and my cell phone, okay? So guys, thank you. I just honor and respect each one of you. All of you bring so much strength to this. And so I'm just overwhelmingly thankful for each of you and content. And all the right people are here with me right now. And it's awesome. I want to thank all the women that I got to interview in the past events, not only for showing up for the future of tech, the future of the Bay, the future of Shasta, the future of blockchain, the future of voice, NFT NYC, and the Voice of the Car Summit. Not only did you show up and allow me to learn from you, but you made it available so that I could live stream you and I could reuse that content. I think today you brought so much of a wonderful addition to the things that I had to share today. One reason why I didn't have any guests today is I just wanted to bring light to some of these incredible women that I've learned so much from. And so I just want to say thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Hope. Thank you, Katie and Enhow. Thank you, Katie from Soundhound. Thank you, Whitney. Your video was sideways. Sorry about that. We didn't get the full thing, but thank you for being there. Sarah Blinko, thank you so much. Marguerite, I am so grateful to have powerful, amazing entrepreneurial leaders that are women in my life that I can learn from. Although my mom is amazing and I've learned so much from her, I want a whole tribe of women around me so that I can learn to be a more balanced and thoughtful person as I continue to live my life. And so just thank you. Thank you for being available. I hope that all of you will speak again at one of my other events that will be coming up in the near future. I want to thank the folks that I get to do life and business with. I want to thank Steeped Coffee. Steeped Coffee, it is coffee basically in a tea bag. It's a fully biodegradable bag and coffee, and I love it. I drink it all the time, and they sponsor all of my events. They send all their people and all their product, and they give their product away to all my attendees without ever asking for anything, and I'm just grateful to be an advisor and be a part of their company. I hope that we are, as the media said, the Keurig killer, because Keurig has sold so many of those plastic pods that could go around the earth 100 times. Wrap your head around that. Man, oh man, oh man. Would that happen today? Would Keurig be the type of company that could sell enough pods that are plastic and not biodegradable that could go around the earth 100 times today? Probably not. We're going into a new world where companies will be benefited by making good decisions. I want to thank the company I'm a partner in called Enduro Madari. These amazing little cars. I love these things. So do my kids. The fact I'm involved in this company makes me a hero to them. And there's kind of an analogy I use with these. This is this cool truck. It's recycled bamboo and recycled aluminum, recycled rubber, recycled leather here. Is like, hey, we're just going on a ride, right? This live stream, this Futurecast is like this truck. And I'm just grateful that you kind of came and attended for a while. And we went on a ride together. And so I like to use these because they look cool and they make my kids happy. And I like to play with them too. I'm like just a big kid. I want to thank Pocket Disc, pocketdisc.com. They sent me this Google Frisbee. And I love this thing. This makes question and answer time the easiest thing that's ever existed. If you are a speaker and you've had a hard time getting people to ask you questions, Go to pocketdisc.com, buy one of these things for $10 on Amazon or whatever. There's only one Google one. It is mine. There are not any other like it. It is only mine. I'm thinking about the guns and the military and the Bible at Joel Osteen's church right now. Raise up your pocket disc and say, there are many like it, but this Google one is mine. Go get your own pocket disc. And then when you do question and answer in your classroom, because you're a teacher, throw the stinking disc at somebody. They will ask you a question. The social pressure of catching the disc is too much for them to bear. They will buckle under the pressure and they will ask you a question. I want to thank Apple for sponsoring my life. Thank you for this watch, Apple, and this incredible phone and these computers. And Gators, thank you for these glasses that I've been wearing for 15 years. I'm just feeling very thankful right now. I'm actually going to talk more about live streaming if anybody's still there. But I want to get all of this stuff out because it's very important to me, honestly, truly, to honor and thank people that make things possible for me. What we talked about today is Futurecasting. It is the future of webcasting. We went live on all of my channels. We did a lot of things different today we've never done before at all of our events. I had no guests. I didn't stream to dozens of speaker accounts, and I didn't try to stream to 100 event attendee accounts. We didn't market the event. I didn't post the event. I didn't text anybody. I didn't tell anybody about the event. All I did was just go live and ask my friends to each take one of my accounts and just to interact with people and just to see what kind of interaction we could have. Alyssa Mullen, yes, you're going to ask about the disc. This is a pocket disc. P-O-C-K-T-D-I-S-C, pocket disc. Alyssa, congratulations. We are going to give you any choice of a Josephine Bellini painting. If you go to josie.io, you can pick out one of those 8 paintings. I really appreciated some of your comments and your interaction. I thought that you were very thoughtful and you shared some things I didn't know about, like I don't know who John McAfee is, probably because I don't follow a lot of things on social media, but you mentioned that. You mentioned stuff about, of course, some of the really tough things that have happened in cryptocurrency. You talked a lot about Josie's art. You just talked about the disc. Like, you are an engaged person, and I thank you for that. This live because of you, because every time you posted a comment, it made me feel like, oh, somebody cares, and they are tuned in, and we're having fun together. So my team, if they have not already, will send you a woot woot. Come on. Good. You know which one. Actually, can you post which one you want? I want the whole world to know. I want Josie to know, out of the 8 paintings, what really stands out most to you, and I'll let people know. So what a powerful thing, right? Come on, think about this. This event, outside of everybody's time and the equipment, really costs me nothing. Like Google, YouTube doesn't charge me to distribute. Facebook is not charging me for distribution. Like, all this is free. And so it's just amazing that not only is it free for me to send a monologue of my thoughts to people, but it's free for me to have a dialogue, right? Like, I can throw the Frisbee to people in the room, but when you're watching online, it's like I'm throwing the Frisbee to you. And you can interact with me, and I can kind of see some of the comments that are going on just on the one Facebook page, not the other 46 or 47, and also not on all the other sites. But at least it's a start, right? The dialogue is getting better right now with webcasting. I have 4 more events I would like to personally invite you to. And so I'm just going to walk through these 4 events really quick and tell you why you should come. I'm going to New York City. I'm going there on Sunday, May 12th. There's a big hackathon for blockchain people with Consensus. And then I'll be at Consensus Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, May 13th through the 14th. 13th through the 15th. There's 3 dates in Monday through Wednesday. And I am going to go there, and I'm going to be live streaming the whole time at Consensus. I've already been interviewing a lot of the sponsors and speakers, and I've been having some incredible conversations, learning so much about the distributed ledger technology. And I'm going to be there in New York City. If you are in New York, send me a message on social. Let's get together. Maybe we can live stream together. That's kind of my jam, and that could be fun. More importantly than me going to Consensus, somebody else's event to participate, I am doing 2 of my own events in one of my favorite places in the world, Puerto Rico, specifically Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. On Thursday, May 16th, and on Friday, May 17th, at 6 to 10 p.m. East Coast time, so that would be 3 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be doing 2 different events. On Thursday, May 16th, I will be doing the Future of Blockchain Summit. The only people that can attend this event are the speakers. Every attendee will be speaking. Every speaker will be listening. My intention is that everybody in that room gives me access to live stream that event through YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram to see how much attention can we get as the leaders of the blockchain community in telling about the future of blockchain. And we'll be covering 21 different categories at that event, the exact same categories at this event. We're going to talk about art today, next year, in a decade. We're going to talk about news today, next year, in a decade, faith, family, business, government, and education, and how blockchain is affecting these spheres of influence now, soon, and later. And I think it's going to be a very, very, very powerful time. Every single segment will be 9 minutes long, and then we'll have 1-minute breaks in between like we've done here. So that's happening on May 16th in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico. Then we'll also have another event the next day called the Future of Puerto Rico Summit. 2,000 people have moved to Puerto Rico under the Act 2022 provisions that allow people to have business taxes of only 4% and allows people to have less taxes for federal and state income type thing, but you're still living in the United States. English is still spoken. They still take American dollars. You don't need a passport to go there. Like, if I didn't have a 6 and 10-year-old, I would have moved there last week. I went. Thank you, Brock Pierce. Brock, I salute you for inviting me to Puerto Rico and convincing me that I needed to come. You were right, and I'm glad I did, and I'm coming back for a week. I will be there Thursday, May 16th through basically Tuesday, May 21st. And I will be doing events the first 2 days, bringing as many people in the blockchain world together to speak and listen to one another, and as many people that are part of Puerto Rico. There's 2,000 people that have moved there. There's 2,000 more that have applied. And then there's amazing, legendary government, business leaders that I've become friends with there that I want to learn from. And that format will be like my traditional format where I sit next to people and do fireside chats, probably with panels so we can fit more people on the stage. When I come back to the city, I will be doing another event called the Future of Voice Summit. Only the speakers are attending. Every single attendee is speaking. There is no sponsors that are sponsoring it just to kind of push their products or services unless they are qualified to also be a speaker, okay? There are no attendees because they're college students, they want to learn. That room is full of peers. And that is the Future of Voice Summit on Thursday, May 23rd, on the 15th story of the DocuSign headquarters with the beautiful glass walls looking at the Bay Bridge, one of my favorite places of all time to do an event, and this entire team will be there with me running that event. Then, in addition to that, we have the final event in this room. On Thursday, May 30th, we are going to be doing the Future of Podcasting. I will not be doing that event alone. I am doing that event to learn. I happen to be launching some podcasts the beginning of June, and so obviously I want to talk about the podcast industry. I've learned so much from guys like John Lee Dumas, JLD from Entrepreneurs on Fire. Of course, John helped Tim Ferriss launch his podcast. I've learned so much from Tim Ferriss and from guys like Joe Rogan and Gary Vaynerchuk, and there's several women as well that I've learned from because all walks of life are now podcasting both through audio and video, and I just keep learning and learning and learning and creating content and kind of clarifying my message and figuring out who's my target audience and what can I bring of value that's different. I want to thank my friend Pamela Sisson, who is launching one of my podcasts with me, The Future of Puerto Rico, kind of her Manhattan perspective on Puerto Rico and why she's drawn to move there, my Silicon Valley perspective, and so we're very excited about launching that podcast. So we're doing our event, The Future of Podcasting, here in this room on Thursday, May 30th from 3 to 7 p.m., and when we do that podcast, that will be done here with guests, okay? So I'll be having other podcast legends flying out here, coming up to Reading, which is very inconvenient for them, but if they want to be on the platform, that's what they have to do. And then we're just going to talk about, hey, what does the future of podcasts look like? All 4 of my events, Next Thursday, the 16th, Future of Blockchain. Next Friday, the 17th, Future of Puerto Rico. The following Thursday, the 23rd, Future of Voice. And the final date is Thursday, the 30th, the Future of Podcasting. All 4 of those events will have the exact same theme. How is this industry being impacted by, or how are these 7 spheres of influence being impacted by this industry? And that's the conversation. I think you'll really enjoy it. So please join me for that. So I would say that today was awesome. I am so happy with how today went. A lot of the things I said today I've never said before. So I'm not sure if things I said were true. So if you disagree, you might be right. No big deal. I don't need to be right. I'm just verbally processing some of my thoughts around webcasting because I've learned so much doing all of this webcasting. And so I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for your attention. I want to encourage you to grab your device and to start webcasting. And I finally want to wrap with my vision for the product that I'm building. So I've been working with a group of CTOs for the last year and a half, trying to figure out how do I bring together this distributed ledger technology, this machine learning capability with voice as an operating system. We built a content management system for the voice devices, and then we made a pivot, and we're going to be announcing on June 1st our new product, which I'm now calling Attention Live. And this product will be a product that allows you to live podcast. So imagine that it'll start with a phone, but eventually it'll be voice operated, and you'll just talk to your watch and you'll say, open attention. And when you open attention, you say, I want to go and live podcast. I want the title to be my summary of this event. I want the description to be, I'm so grateful for my 8 friends that came and helped me do this podcast. It was 4 hours long. My legs are a little tired. I can't wait to rest, but I think it went really well. What do you think? Take a listen to my summary of it and then go check out and tell me what your favorite segment was. And I say, okay, now take a picture, and I smile, right? And that's the cover of the podcast that goes out. And I say, okay, show me everything. Oh, no, change the title to this. Give me a 10-second timer. This will be our product, Attention Live. And then whether it's on the phone or on your device or on your Ring or in your glasses, whatever platform, your car, whatever platform I can use, I'm going to be bringing this product to the platform that you want to use. And when you go live, that podcast will go live onto YouTube and Facebook. We have that part figured out. I believe we're going to be able to add Microsoft Cortana, which then gives us direct access to Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. Twitter and Instagram are going to be tougher. What I'm most excited about is the possibility that we could be live podcasting through Spotify. So we will see if I'm able to work that out with Spotify, who has recently bought Glimmet Media as well as Anchor, and I would love, love, love to help you live podcast through that platform. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not just talking about the future I want. I am building teams to create that future with products that are valuable, that you want to pay for. Do you want to pay for that product? Are you willing to pay for that product? I think you are. If you're a broadcaster, if you're CNN or Fox, I can take your live broadcast and I can put that audio only on every single social media platform. You can pull your video-based advertising and put in your audio-based advertising, and now all of a sudden you have a whole new monetization plan on your content. Are you a famous celebrity or podcaster? Like, are you listening, or did somebody send this to you and you're realizing, wait, you can go live with audio on all these different platforms? Yes, that's what I can do for you. Are you a higher education university, or maybe a church or a synagogue or a temple, and you have messages to tell to your spiritual followers or your students? Do you want all of your priests, fathers, whatever your people are called, your instructors, your guest lecturers, to be live streamed to all these devices, to turn them into media companies? That's what Attention Live can do. Or are you just a dude like me that has some things to share from time to time? And it sure would be nice if you could say one thing and go live everywhere and have the archive sent to Apple iTunes and sent to Google Podcasts and sent to Stitcher and SoundCloud and all the rest. Well, that's all from me. I thank you for your attention. I'm grateful for it. We are now wrapping this webcast officially. You will not see me anymore. What you're about to see is the final slides. And so have a wonderful, happy day.